Okay, test review. First thing you're going to do on the first page is make that 32 into a 16, okay, because I said so. Now, you have to graph these equations because we have x to the second and second. You know that makes a U shape. Might be upside down, might be right side up. We'll let the coordinates take us there. Now, these are in different forms. My question to you here, do you see a parentheses in there? You don't, so that's an ABC form. Do you see one there? Yeah, you have x minus 4 to the second power. That's AHK form. Okay, so both these we need 3 points with the middle being the vertex. Both of them. Okay, now in ABC form, that's known as standard form. The way to find the x vertex is to apply the opposite of b divided by 2 times a. In AHK form, it's just simply taking the opposite of the h there, and then this is going to be the k. So opposite of b divided by 2 times a, so you're going to have positive 16, and then 2 times 4. So 2 times 4 is 8, so 16 divided by 8 is going to equal 2. So you have 2, and then you go 1 to the right, 3, 1 to the left, 1. Then you substitute those values in for x to find your outputs. Okay, so we're going to take 4, and then 3 to the second, minus 16, and then 3 plus 1. So I got negative 11 as my output with 3. Now I need to substitute 2 in for my x variables, and I get negative 15. Then when I substitute 1, it better take me back to negative 11 or it's wrong. Okay, well, there we go. Okay, now you also need to find the range. First, let's get the graph. You have to go by 2's on y. You can still go by 1's on the x. Okay, so 3, negative 11. So 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then 11. Remember, you're going down because those are negatives. 2, negative 15, 1, 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and then 6 15's right there. 1, negative 11, so I go right 1, down 11, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Okay, now remember to curve it, it's not a V. Then label your vertex 2, negative 15. Okay, so my y value is, remember range is all about the y, okay? Now from the negative 15, the graph is going up, so it would be greater than or equal to negative 15. Okay, opposite of h is positive 4, then the k, actually I want to change my k, actually no, go negative 6, sorry, I don't want to confuse people. So, go 1 to the right, 1 to the left, okay? Now you substitute 5 into the equation for x, so negative 2 times the quantity 5 minus 4 to the second, minus 6, I'm at negative 8. Then I substitute 3 into the equation for x, and you're at negative 8. So we go right 5, down 8, and you can go by 1's on both of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just barely, but I made it, okay? 4, negative 6, right 4, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? And then 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just barely, so if you didn't put arrows, that's fine because, yeah. So your vertex, you label 4, negative 6. The range is all about the y, so you put y with its negative 6 value, and from that it's headed down. So down would be less than or equal. Okay, in our next problem we see the graph, and then we need to write the equation. So we need to replace the a, the h, and the k. We've done this problem a lot of times. So blank with a, parentheses x. I don't know if it's positive or negative, so I line it up with h to the second plus blank with k. Okay, hk is easy to find. It's the vertex point. So it's negative 1, 2, 3, negative 3, then k, 1, 2. Okay. So you make your h opposite, so plus 3, and then the k value is 2. Now you have to figure a out down here. Now you need a temporary replacement for the y and the x, okay? They don't go in your answer, but you need them to find the a. So you're left 1, -1, and down 1, -1. So I take y out and replace it with -1. Then the a bounces up, and it's a times the parentheses, x plus 3. Well, now we're going to put -1 plus 3. To the second, then plus 2. A times, you got to figure out what this is, okay? It's going to be 4, -1 plus 3 to the second is 4. So it's a times 4 plus 2. Then you get a by itself. You need to subtract 2 from each side, and that gives you -3. Then you're getting the a by itself, so you're dividing by 4, not the -3. Now top divided by bottom, you can put that, and I'll give you it second if you want a second PRB it. I don't care if you put the -0.75 or -3/4. I just don't want any decimals that just go on forever. Now if you want to check your answer, you go -3ABC4, parentheses, -1 plus 3, close it, second power, plus 2. When you click equals, you should get -1, which we do. So this is my answer right there. Now we solve equations. You need to read directions. All the equations have directions on how to solve them. Solve the equation by factoring. So there's 2 answers. It says flat out that you're factoring. So factor. So that's when you have to get the equals 0, and you have to rewrite this side into parentheses where you can do the F1, F2. So 0's here. Now we have 2 terms. If I am trying to factor 2 terms, I do a GCF, and then I see if I have a difference of perfect squares. Plus, minus, okay? Now, forget about the 0. Now look at the board. Is x on the final term? Why, yes it is. Do you have a negative in the front term? Why, no you don't. Then you figure out the GCF of the coefficients 7 and 28. So 7 and 28 are both in row 7, so 7x. So we bring out 7x. Then to find the other parentheses, you need to go divide by 7x. So 7 divided by 7 is 1. X second divided by x, that's just x, so it's 1x. -28 divided by 7 is -4, so you put -4. And then x divided by x is a dead cancellation. So what are you looking at for dots? Well, this 7x I already put over there. I'm looking at this 1x minus 4. So you have the minus, so that's the d, that's your difference, okay? Now are these perfect squares? Well, I don't need the 1 if it's a 1. No, they're not, because x without a power is not a perfect square. So you write no, and you bring that x minus 4 over here. Now you F1, F2, and then each one's equal to 0. 7x equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0. So we're dividing by 7 here, and I get 0. Over here I add 4, and I get 4. 0 and 4 are the 2 solutions. Okay, next problem. Solve the equation by factoring. X second minus 7x equals -12. Factoring again. So to find your 2 answers, because you have x this second, you are going to factor. So equals 0. Well, you need to get 0 in the equation then. So you need to add 12, and then you would just end up hanging it because it doesn't go with anything. So blank x second plus blank x plus blank. So x this second would be a 1, x would be a -7, and the constant would be 12. Now that we're at 0, how many terms does this have? 1, 2, 3, so it has 3 terms. So that's like GCF, but then I make the t table. Okay, now GCF. Do you have an X on the last of the three terms? No, you don't. Do you have a negative in the front? No, you don't. 1, 7, and 12. That'd just be 1, so then it's a waste. Now, ABC. Now your A is 1x to the second power. Keep that in mind, okay? So AC product, 1 times 12 is 12 positive, so that's a match on the signs. And we have to add to try to get to negative 7. 12 divided by 1 is 12. That adds to negative 13. That's not right. 12 divided by 2 is 6. That adds to negative 8. That's close, but not quite. 12 divided by 3 equals 4. So there we go. Remember, 12 divided by. And there's your negative 7. Now, I'm going to just make 4 parentheses just to be safe. Minus 3, minus 4. The x second goes to x times x. And when we apply that 1 in front of each of our x's. Now 1 and 3 are only divisible by 1, so you can divide by 1, but it just stays the same. Likewise with 1x minus 4. So that's what we have. 1x times 1x is 1x squared. Negative 3 times negative 4 is positive 12. So you line that up. I would not put the 1s on the x. You can if you want. Okay. F1, F2. So x minus 3 equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0. So you add 3, x equals 3. Add 4 to 0, x equals 4. Okay. Next problem, solved by factoring. Okay. Another factoring problem. Okay. So equals 0. We want a bunch of we want a couple parentheses there. You're good. You have 0. And it's 3 terms again, so it's GCFT. But if you put XX over here, it's wrong. Okay? Okay, look in the last of the 3 terms. You don't pay attention to the 0 because you've already you're looking at these 3 terms. Do you have X on the last of the 3 terms? No. Do you have a negative in front? No. 5, 27, and 10. Well, not 5, so that leaves us at 1. No. Okay. ABC, and remember your A is 5x this second. You're going to lose a bunch of points if you just put XX. Okay. So the AC product, 5 times 10 is 50. It's positive, so that's a match. Okay. Negative, negative. You're adding to try to get to negative 27. 50 divided by 1 is 50. That's negative 51. 50 divided by 2 is 25. Negative 27. Okay. I put my parentheses. So I put in my negative 2, negative 25. It's not going to stay that way, which is why we need to do this XX and then place a coefficient of 5 in front of each of your x's. Now 5 and 2. The only thing those are divisible by at the same time is 1. Okay? So that will just stay the same. 5 and 20, you can divide them by 1. 5 and 25 are both divisible by 5. So that's going to become 1x minus 5. Now 5x times 1x is 5x squared. Negative 2 times negative 5 is positive 10. And if you FOILed the rest of it, you would end up with the negative 27x. Okay, now it's correct. F1, F2. So 5x minus 2 equals 0. X minus 5 equals 0. So you add 2, 5x equals 2. 2 divided by 5 is a decimal. I'm just going to put 2/5. Then you add a 5 to both sides, and x equals 5. Now remember, sometimes you can divide in both parentheses. Okay, I didn't on this one because 5 and 2 can only be divided by 1. Now we're not factoring. You need to read the directions. Solve the equation with square roots. No decimals allowed. So we're going to get our 2 answers using the square roots. So the first thing I do is make a line and get the x to the second power by itself. You need to do these things. You need to minus the 2 first, then you need to divide by the negative 4. Then you'll square root, okay, in that order. You don't do them out of order. So negative 4 times x to the second equals negative 160. Then I divide each side by negative 4, and I get 40. So I get rid of the second power with the square root, positive or negative, both of them. Now 40 is not a perfect square, and I said no decimals allowed to everybody. So that's irrational. So then you put a division sign and you make a couple of square roots off to the side, just like geometry. So look up at the board, or you can look on the sheet. 40 falls in right here, so I'd start at 40 divided by 36, decimal. 40 divided by 25 is a decimal. 40 divided by 16 is a decimal. 40 divided by 9 is a decimal. What's 40 divided by 4? Oh, there we go, it's 10. So I put the number I divided by 4, and then the answer I got 10. And the square root of 4 is 2. So 2 square roots of 10. So 2 square root of 10, negative 2 square roots of 10. Okay, number 8. Solve the equation with the quadratic formula. I'm fine with decimals or simplified radicals. So 2 answers, and you're using the quadratic formula. No boxes, okay? Make sure you're at 0. So, opposite of b, plus or minus the square root, b squared minus 4ac, b squared minus 4ac over 2a, over 2a. So the opposite of b is negative 10. B to the second, you got 10. A is going to be 5. C is negative 3. And A is 5. So I lay it out. Negative 10. Now I'm going to show both ways. 2 times 5 on the bottom's 10. Now I come up here and do my square root, the inside. Okay. So 10 to the second power minus 4. 5, negative 3. Got 160. Now, if you prefer the decimal way, you just square root the decimal, square root it, and round to the nearest hundredth. 12.65. Then if you are doing it that way, you take negative 10 plus 12.65, click equals, and then divide by 10. 0.27. If you're off, I don't care. If you put 0.26, fine, whatever. I'm not going to dock you on the test for that. Click equals, divide by 10, negative 2.27. Now, if you are going to go the radical route, okay, I'm going to lay this out again. 160, you know that's irrational. So you would divide and make your 2 square roots. So I'd start dividing at 144. Decimal, 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 decimal. Eventually when you divide 160 by 16, you get 10. So I would rewrite that as 16 times 10 with the square root of 16 becoming a 4. So 4 square root 10. Now circle the outsides, the 10, negative 10, the 4, and the 10, not the square root of 10. That's going to stay. 10 and 4, I think those can be divided by 2. Okay, they can be. So this would be negative 5, this would become a 2, and this would become a 5. But the square root of 10 stays. So the answer would be negative 5 plus 2 square root 10 over 5. And then negative 5 minus 2 square root 10 over 5. Most people are going this route. Okay, now you saw the equation. I didn't tell you what to do here because you kind of need to, there's only one way to do it, okay? You got 2 answers. Now your x is in a quantity, x minus 3 to the second. So you want to make a chart here and put that x minus 3 on both sides. then you're going to replace this quantity. We got to find what that equals. So I'm going to replace that with the h variable. So it's 5h to the second power equals 125. Now, we don't have to add or subtract. We need to divide by 5, then apply the square root. So divide by 5, divide by 5. H to the second equals 25. Then you square root 25. Now 25 is a perfect square, so that equals 5. Positive or negative 5. Don't put 25. You got to remember to square root it into 5. 5, negative 5. Then I add 3. 5 plus 3 is 8. Then I add 3. Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. Okay. All right, now it's time for the story problems. Remember, maximums, just draw a big parabola in the middle. A skateboard shop sold 50 skateboards last week. They were selling them for $70 a piece. The store thinks that each time they decrease the price by $1, one more skateboard will be sold. How many times should the store change the price to maximize revenue? What will the maximum revenue be? Okay, maximum. You know that a maximum is opposite of B divided by 2 times A. Now they're asking for revenue. So revenue, we don't just lay it out right away. We need 2 parentheses, money times items. Okay? Now to know how to fill that out, I would suggest you make a table, money and items. So the money starts at 70, the items start at 50. Then what are we doing? We're decreasing the price by $1 here, but then we're increasing the amount of items by 1. So it's going to be 69, 51, 68, 52. So that goes on and on. So we have 70 in the money minus 1x. Then 50 in the items plus 1x. Then I need to apply the FOIL method. So FOIL. So 70 times 50. 70 times 1x, negative 1x times 50, and negative 1x times 1x. So this is 3,500 as a constant. This is 70x, this is negative 50x, and this is negative 1 with x second. Now you can lay it out because you're done with the FOIL. I don't care if you put y there, it doesn't matter, okay? So negative 1 is your x second. Your x's, you add those two, and that's 20. The constant, you go 3,500. So A, B. Your variables would be r and x, or y, x and y. It doesn't matter. So negative 20. So 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Then we divide negative 20 by negative 2, we get 10. So it's 10 changes in price. I don't care if that's labeled. Your revenue is the money, okay? So you substitute 10 in for x. I don't care if you're writing the substitution out, but that's how I find my maximum revenue, okay? So negative 1, 10 to the second, plus 20 times 10, plus 3,500, you get 3,600. That's your maximum revenue. Okay, next problem. Another maximum, but it's maximum height. A missile is launched into the air from a height of 200 feet with a velocity of 800 feet per second. What's the maximum height? Maximum height equation is easy to write. You don't need to do any parentheses and FOIL. Opposite of B divided by 2 times A. I would use equals y for height because gravity, that's when gravity comes into play, and the velocity and the constant. Gravity, negative 16. This is your per rate, 800. You got to get them in the right place. And this is where it started from, which is 200. So opposite of B, negative 800. 2 times negative 16 is negative 32. Then I divide negative 800 by negative 32. 25. So this is yx. The 25 is the seconds it took to get to the max height. Now to find the feet, you substitute 25 into the equation for x. $10,200. It's a missile, so it's going to be pretty high up there. 10,200 feet. Okay, now the last two sound exactly the same as the one I just read. Keep it together. A missile is launched into the air from a height of 200 feet, velocity 800 feet per second. How high will the missile be after 5 seconds? Now you're not finding the maximum height, you're finding feet, but not the maximum. So since I know I'm not finding the maximum, I'm going to line up my feet in seconds. I'm going to draw the parabola over here. So x is seconds, y is feet. The feet per second is 800. Now, no table. You just go make your parabola. Now read the last sentence. You see 5 seconds. You're going to put question mark with your feet. Okay. Now I lay out the same equation I just did on the last problem. Okay. The gravity. Gravity negative 16. The per 800. The starting height 200. Now where do you think that 5 should go? Well, it goes in for x. 5 seconds is an x value, so you put it in for both every x that you see. And I'm solving for y. When you're solving for y, there's only one answer. Okay, and it's by itself, so I just plug the other side into the calculator. $3,800. So 3,800 feet, and that's your answer. Okay, last problem. Missiles launched from a height of 200 feet above the ground with an initial vertical velocity of 800 feet per second. Calculate at what time the missile will be 500 feet above the ground. I would like to answer in approximate decimal form, seconds. So you're not finding the maximum height, okay? So you use feet and seconds. Those are your 2 units. You're going to set it up the same as you did on the last problem. You're just going to use the equation for something different. So the feet per second, well, it's still 800. Now, I don't draw that gigantic parabola in the middle because I'm not finding the maximum, okay? On the other side, read the last sentence, not the one I wrote, the one I typed, 500 feet. Question mark, seconds. You're not finding the maximum on a parabola. That is how that should be set up. So I lay it out. Gravity, negative 16. The per, still 800. The starting height is 200. The 500 goes in for one of the variables. 500 feet, it goes in for y. Okay? So I'm replacing the y with 500 and I'm solving for x. Now, you have to solve for x. There's 2 answers in the equation. Maybe not the overall problem, but in the equation there's 2 answers. Use the quadratic formula, please. Okay? You got to get the 0. So negative 16x second plus 800x minus 300 equals 0. So, don't waste time with the GCFT. It ain't going to work. Opposite of b, plus or minus the square root, b squared minus 4ac, b squared minus 4ac over 2a, over 2a. So ABC. Opposite of b, negative 800. B, 800. A is negative 16, C is negative 300, and A is negative 16. So negative 800, 2 times negative 16 is negative 32. I'm going to make my square root over there, and everybody should be using the decimal way, not the radical simplification from the board. So 800 to the second minus 4, negative 16, negative 300. Yeah, I don't want to simplify that as a radical. Are you kidding me? Just approximate it in decimal form. $787.91. Then negative 800 plus 787.91, click equals, divide by negative 32, 0.38. Negative 800 minus 787.91, click equals, divide by negative 32, 49.62. Both those are positive. I need to see them both. The reason why they're both positive, because it starts at 200, so it goes 500 feet on the way up. That's the smaller seconds, and on the way down, 49.62.